if your seats were equipped with seat belts, I would have to inform you, you should probably buckle them now, because you never know what could happen in the next 75 minutes. I read something on the internet recently, and it was a comment attributed to Betty White. You may have heard it as well. And she was talking about being tough, and she said, why do people say, grow some balls? You know, balls are weak, they're sensitive. If you really want to get tough, grow a vagina. Those things take a pounding. So I would think that the women I'm about to introduce might agree with that, figuratively speaking. They are some of the most talented and successful comedians in Canada. And you'll notice I didn't say some of the most talented and successful female comedians in Canada. They are right there, they're doing it, and I'd like to start right now at that end. Over the past 20 years, 25 years, which is incredible, really, Cathy Jones has truly become a household name in our country. A good Newfoundland girl, well, at least a Newfoundland girl. She was a founding member of the award-winning comedy troupe Codco, and also had a hand in creating the incredibly successful CBC staple This Hour Has 22 Minutes, now known as 22 Minutes. She has won 18 Gemini Awards. And, yes, thank you, that deserves applause. That's verging on showing off, really, isn't it? Also, 3 Canadian Comedy Awards, and we are really thrilled to have Cathy with us for this conversation. Thank you. Cheryl Hamm is another chip off the old rock. She was born in St. Anthony's, Newfoundland. Apparently the whole population of St. Anthony's is here today. But she has called Halifax home for most of her life. She is a comedian with the sketch troupe Picnic Face, which has, of course, translated their outrageous popularity on the internet to a TV series aptly called Picnic Face. And in her comedy, Cheryl says she tries to spread a message of female empowerment and endeavors to prove that women are, in fact, very, very funny.
What's that?
Christine Taylor just looked at me like, what are you going to say about me? Christine Taylor wasn't born in Newfoundland, but I guess you could say her comedy grew up there. Having moved there from Calgary in high school, she was introduced to a group of young comedians, among them some guy named Rick Mercer, and her career in comedy took off. From stage work like the critically acclaimed play Man on the Moon, Woman on the Pill, Too Late, Too Little, Too Loaded, love that one, The Pink Show, and The Juicy Danger Show, to work on television in the CBC comedy special Happy Land. Christine's work defies description. Is that okay? But as she says in the program that you have in your pockets or in your hands, her brand of rash burlesque, vulnerable puppet shows, and asinine shadow plays leave her audience feeling prepubescent. Nikki Payne. That's all I need to say. Yep. No, Nikki Payne is not from Newfoundland.
I'm from away.
She never lived in Newfoundland. She doesn't even friggin' like Newfoundland. But she is hilarious anyway. Nikki grew up in Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia. And hilariously, she found her knack for comedy as the hawk mascot for the NSCC Truro campus sports teams. From there, she went on to Toronto to tell jokes her parents do not like. She has done TV shows like Made in Canada, Comedy Inc., Video on Trial, and Last Comic Standing. And in 2007, seriously, Nikki donated a kidney to her dad.
Oh, right.
And not so seriously, promptly wrote a one-woman show about it. Recently, she won a Canadian Comedy Award and was nominated for a Gemini Award, and both were for her 2011 Halifax Comedy Festival appearance.
Yay!
I know I'm doing all the talking so far, and before I let them say anything, I want you to see them in action. So take it away. I told you they were fabulous, and we decided to go a little longer with that clip because here it is at the end of the day, and we've been in panels and workshops, and that was just a treat. So the first thing I want to ask you, I was standing there thinking, I spent a long time in TV in a job where I really had to behave myself and act in a very conventional, predictable way, and you guys do the opposite of that. And to me, you're so brave. Do you feel brave?
We're essentially unemployable at anything else, so what options have we got? Cleaning?
So there is no choice but comedy.
Decluttering, yeah.
Do you agree with that? Could you do anything other than comedy?
I worked as a security guard once.
You're intimidating, I can see.
Yeah, I was in charge of a whole building. They're like, Cheryl, you take care of this RIM complex where we make blackberries, and if anything happens, you deal with it.
To the company.
Anyway, I basically walked around the property and picked blueberries all summer. It was really nice.
Cathy, do you feel brave when you get out there and just break open the limits and disregard whether people are going to think it's funny?
When you get out there, it's not a question. I think when you're out there, you're the part about being brave is over. You're already out there. I think that the brave part is doing it again, like thinking, what will I do now? What will I do now? Or I think that you're not brave when because it's so natural to be out there. Obviously, at that point, so no, it just seems like something you can do, so you do that,
That's right. It's what you know.
Yeah.
So, where did humor surface in your lives? Let's spend a little time talking about your personal histories so that we get to know where your humor comes from or what drives your comedy. Nikki?
I was the hawk mascot at the Cheryl campus of the Nova Scotia Community College, and that's when I started realizing that I could get the attention of people by being very silly, and because I was the hawk mascot, I got to go to all the sports teams' parties. So it suddenly brought me this level of popularity that a chick that spits when her tongue talks has never had her entire life, and it just the rewards that I was getting for being funny, I just kept following right into adulthood.
That makes sense. Don't stop. Nick and Christine?
I moved a lot as a kid, so I constantly went to new schools and had to make friends and avoid the bullies. And I was really androgynous until I was about 16. I looked like, a Jewish boy, and then I looked like a one-breasted Jewish boy for a while. So I wasn't particularly popular with boys. Secretively, I was quite popular with girls, but that's another story. So I had to just, make friends real quick, and then also go, hey, I'm not a guy, I'm a girl, and I'm going to do this pratfall, and hopefully you won't, steal my lunch, beat me up, or whatever. So that's where that came from.
Self-preservation.
So absolutely self-preservation.
Cheryl?
It's similar for me. I was bullied a lot as a kid because I looked stupid. Really. My mom was teased. She insisted that she do my hair until I was about 11, and she would tease my bangs into what amounted to a bird's nest made of hair that rested right here. And she made all my sweaters out of neon wool, and and I loved Sailor Moon, and yeah, I got bullied a lot. One time these bullies, I lived in Lower Sackville, and you know the Sackville River, right? There's this part where you can jump across it on these rocks, and I used to love doing that. I used to love going in the woods and being alone, because trees don't make fun of you. So I was crossing the Sackville River, and I got to the other side, and these bullies were like, hey, what's up? We are 16-year-old boys, and you're a 10-year-old girl, and we're going to take all your Sailor Moon trading cards, and we're going to throw them in the river. And yeah, so I just became funny.
That was good. Yeah, I think I understand. Cathy?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah. I'm going to take a mad stab at it and say there might have been humor in your house growing up, so it was a natural inclination because it was in your family.
Yeah. I think so. But like, and like I was thinking about this when you were talking about women in comedy, and I thought about it in terms of our careers in comedy, and I was thinking about the stuff that makes you funny is also the stuff that makes it really hard for you to be practical and intelligent and sort of confident about business, So I think the stuff that makes you funny is also the stuff that makes you vulnerable, right? And also it's an expression of your vulnerability. So I think that, I really don't have, like, I know my mom was really funny, and she was funny, and my dad was really dry funny, but then things went really badly in the house, and then, that wasn't that funny. But, I think I was always funny, but I did think there was a time when I did it because I think I was trying too hard. I think I tried too hard a lot when I was a kid. And I think that I feel more relaxed now. I think I'm just funny because it's really fun to be funny,
Who was your first role model who you sort of latched onto to say, I could be like her, I could be a professional comedian?
Me. No, gosh, how much time we got? I feel like there's 4 of us and I don't want to talk, but like when I was a kid, I watched a lot of comedy. I watched Carol Burnett, and I watched the Smothers Brothers, and I saw all the comics that went on, Ed Sullivan, and Andy was really funny, and Andy was fixing to be a comedian, and he encouraged me, my brother.
Cathy's brother, sorry.
Yeah, and I saw Mary. I watched everybody, doing. I was a little bit younger than them, and I just, I didn't say I was going to be a comedian. No, I didn't know that, but other people know stuff you don't know, don't they? I mean, other people sort of make that happen. Sometimes they go, "You're funny, do it."
Carol Burnett seems to be a hot button answer for a lot of you. Who raise your hands, please? Who loved Carol Burnett and in the audience?
She likes Sailor Moon, though.
I'm younger. I'm young. I didn't watch Carol Burnett. It's before my time.
You don't know who Carol Burnett is?
I know.
Cheryl?
I know who she is. I just didn't see her show. I'm sorry. We had 3 channels. It wasn't on any of them.
I remember, and guys, I'm really old. Anyway, Ben Stiller's father and his wife, remember them on Ed Sullivan? And, Lucy, people like that. Oh, yeah.
So do you think to be a comedian, you need to be ultimately confident or just be able to hide your ultimate insecurity?
What do you guys think of that?
I think you have to be confident in being all right with showing your insecurity.
Yes. I think that's what we do. We do. That's why people love comedians, and that's why comedians are sad sometimes, because we do feel deeply, and we kind of reflect other people's vulnerability. I think we do, and we say, "I'll go out there and say that. I'll say that for you." But we have a lot of heart. I think there's a lot of heart in comedy. I think there's a lot of a lot of sort of connecting with people's vulnerability. That's what we do. It's a very sad panel when you talk to comedians. It's
I'm going to read you some of the quotes that I heard from these women as I spoke to them through the week. I sort of had a chance to chat with each of them on the phone. And I want to throw a couple of quotes and just get your comments about them. And one of them is, funny is about creating tension around taboo subjects. What do you think of that?
Was that my quote?
I think that sounds like
Maybe.
What'd you say?
we have to guess our quotes.
No,
We get a prize if we were sober enough to remember what we said.
I just thought when people repeat quotes that you said back to you. I'm full of shit.
I didn't know there was going to be a test.
On to the next quote. I'm curious as to whether there's there's anyone who didn't say it who has a reaction to that says,
well, definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
absolutely.
Yes.
Well,
Kathy, help me.
Go ahead, Christine.
well, see, I don't feel like I do that, and then I look at things that I do and I go, ah, shit, it was a topless Jesus in that film, you know, or it was this or that. I always feel like it's the battlefield of taboo subjects, and I like to be the little mime putting the flower in the vase right next to it. So I'll shut up now because
no, but that's true.
You don't often know what you do, and then you go and do something, and people go, that's this, and you go, no, that was about God, and they're like, no, it wasn't. It was about.
Yeah, you don't know what you're doing. It's that's why it's hard to talk to us because we don't really know what we're doing.
No.
You just make something and then later.
It's very instinctive. It's very instinctive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a. Oh, like James Joyce or something. Like you write a bunch of garbage, and then 50 years later, everyone's like, "This means everything." Like you just it's like that.
Yeah.
I just felt a pillar of concrete crack somewhere in there.
Like in '73 when we did a stand-up of people coming into the hospital smoking, telling the woman in the bed, "Get up out of that bed," right? And then sit around telling stories about people who had cancer. Like it was the first time that people sat on stage and went like, yes, they brought her in that night, opened her up, full of cancer, sent her up, you know, like, you know, it was really black stuff. I mean, it was, and then we would also make fun of, you know, priests and the church and child molesters. We were very young, we didn't know anything, but you know, like yes, that was taboo stuff. I mean, I think you do, but you know, I think that the thing we try to do is in order to be a successful comedian, I think we have to walk the line so that we don't make people go, oh, why'd you say that for?
I don't know. I mean, I think, I don't mean I don't know with what you're saying, I don't agree. Like, I feel like you're in two camps as a comedian. You decide to do, like, whatever. I don't even know what camp we're in, because half the time I wake up in a pup tent and I built it and I don't remember, but it's my jokes and I'm there, right? It's intuitive. But there's the camp of, do you put thought into this, and everything comes from our own impetus. But then there's the side of the comedians that just do anal sex jokes, and to me, that's taboo. That's seriously, we've been telling the same dick jokes for 100, since dicks were invented. Exactly. Can we please, like...
That's the line I'm talking about.
Can we please, like, you know, I don't know, run from the building screaming.
Mm-hmm. But as soon as you're tackling taboo subjects, even if you're not dealing with something so overtly confrontational or offensive as that, you're going to offend people, and you're going to make people mad, probably. You talk about some of your skits, Cathy, but I mean, I come from a world where people used to get offended if I changed my hair on the news.
Yes.
So I can't imagine. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with people's anger at your work?
We don't tell jokes to people that watch live at 5. They are a hardcore bunch.
I don't think comedians want anybody to be mad at them.
No.
I think we want to make people happy. We really don't want to piss people off. I think that's where you get into that line about male comedians, and you know, it's like they can't help it sometimes, and they, you know, they do that stuff. You know what I mean? I don't think
women do it too. You know,
yeah,
women
they do
those bad vajiji jokes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another of the quotes that I had was, I thought, very succinct, and that was, "You have to deal with a lot of dicks in comedy." No one has to take responsibility for that, but I would like you all to talk about it.
I think you have to deal with a lot of dicks in life. And I think that's the connection that you're making. There's nothing like, whether I'm telling a dick joke or a political joke, there is nothing that I can say on stage. Like, what I say has to connect with you all in some way. You might not experience, you might not have been a girl with a cleft-lip palate that grew up in a trailer park in Sackville, but something that I say and the jokes that I say have to connect to you on some level. And I think that, that a lot of the things that I talk about are the things that make me angry, the dicks I encounter in day-to-day life. And I think when people are enjoying my comedy, they're going, yeah, I have a dick like that I have to deal with. And it's the connection. Did I answer the question?
There's not only men that wear the dicks either.
No.
And it's like you can tell if there's brains behind it or just kind of like dogs sniffing the same butt for the same joke over and over and again. That's the way I think of it in my mind, and I'm dirty and wrong. And
all jokes come
depressing.
from a giant butt.
Jokes come from a giant butt, in case you didn't hear her.
Yeah. Says the girl from Picnic Face.
I was thinking about it because I heard that my daughter told me she heard Christine, I think you must have been on the radio or something, saying that until God was a woman, women and men would meet. And I was thinking, until producers are feminists, you know? Like if producers are feminists, then women can transcend that thing where, you know, like it seems like to be a very sensitive comedian and to get your shit done, like get out there with your projects, you need to be made out of different material. So and it's very easy to get lost, like slip under, because you don't have, because the very qualities that make you a vulnerable comedian kind of preclude you being a tough business person. So a lot of times just go, fuck it, right? I don't care. I don't care if I ever get this done. You know, unless you have, you know, and I think that the work of our lives is to work out our shit and stuff, so it's more important maybe than that. But I feel like if you have feminist type, you know, where women are, you know what I mean? We're like kind of, we're still women go around wearing fucking shit, you know?
Did we get that on the podcast? Yeah. Good.
And just quickly interject. It's not about God being a woman, it's about an equal balance. There's this male energy and this female energy, and if you've only got, systemically for me, that's what it all comes down to in everything. You got one guy, and we all turn to him, most of us, in times of crisis and whatever. It gives you the ability to make law, print money, make decisions, and sell the same fucking package that's actually what I own, but you've repackaged it in your version of pornography, entertainment, fashion, and sold it back to me. But actually, I own this, but because you've got this hierarchical assembly of how we do things, it is only one-sided. We can't argue. It's God. We live in a world of God. There is no equal goddess, and even though we earth-loving get down, or, you know, have a connection there, we live in a really patriarchal society, and all those systems that are in play of how we market and distribute and produce and create, and our ideas of how bums get in seats, we're still going for that big kabang that works. It really fucking works, but it's, you know, it's slowly, and then that's where the comedian can no longer say anything because they failed school.
Well, yeah, like earlier today, during the union thing, you know, the man at the very end said something that hit me. That he was like, "It's so deep-seated." He goes, "The sexism is so deep-seated." I don't think there's any man out there that's getting up, you know, out of bed every morning going, "Oh, how can I fuck over the women today?" Like, you're not. It's if you're a man in a decision-making position, you just make decisions from all the things that, from the day that we're born when they decide to put us in a pink onesie or a blue onesie, and it's still a damn onesie, but the color of it means so much, and it means so much about the toys that we're going to be given to play with, and the things that we're told that we're going to be doing, and none of it's done on purpose. It's just there. And I think the first thing that we got to do is recognize that's there and go, oh, there's that again. We're not going to be able to change anything with policy or anything until we get that part of, oh, this has been happening since we were babies. And the fact is that I know television, from what I've learned of television so far anyway, is that, you know, it's advertising. You know, our TV shows are there to sell Canadian Tire and Tim Hortons and gum and toothpaste. And so it's largely pushed by advertising, and advertising's got some wild thoughts and really driven by those ingrained things that we have that we're not even conscious of what women are and what men are. And I think, before we get any further anywhere, we just need to be aware that that's there. I know that wasn't funny. I'll go back to hump.
Okay, so let's talk about the particular challenges for women in comedy. We heard the stats this morning about how underrepresented women are in so many parts of the industries in television, film, digital media. There aren't enough female comedians in comedy festivals or on TV. But it's a chicken and egg thing. Is that because they're not being hired, or because they don't exist, because they're not encouraged? Where does it start?
Cheryl, you should start because you haven't said anything in a while.
Oh, thanks, Cathy. What's the question?
Cheryl's been told she has to answer that first. And Cheryl, this is an interesting one for you because we talked briefly yesterday, and at 25, beautifully, you don't feel that there are a lot of gender limits on you.
I do feel that there are gender limits.
She lied yesterday.
I didn't lie. I don't feel held down by them. I feel like I am a person and I can do whatever I want. And I can accomplish whatever I want to accomplish. And I feel like what we're saying about the deep-seatedness of sexism, I mean, it's insane. Language even. Like when I'm writing something, I'm always faced with the block of how do I say this? How do I make this gender neutral? Or how do I make this not, or how do I say not, instead of saying mankind, it's really hard to use language as a tool against oppression when language itself is oppressive, But aside from that, I feel very empowered and like I can just do whatever the fuck I want all the time. Who wants to fight? But that being said, you do come up against some blocks, even inside Picnic Face. I know Ebony Rosen, who's in Picnic Face with me, and I would sit down together, and we always write together because we kind of know that if you want to play a strong, three-dimensional, well-rounded character, you got to write it yourself. You got to do it because no one's going to write it for you. If we came up against the block, when we realized that if there was a scene written by one of the guys that took place in an office, it was we're in an office and there are 5 business men, and we'd be like, you guys, women work in offices. They work in offices all the time. There are business women. Let's call them business people. So yeah, but that being said, it all comes back to self-empowerment. There are blocks, but if you want to overcome them, you just have to carve out the paths for yourself, I think. Did I do it, Cathy?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Nikki, what do you think?
I think what she thought.
Christine, do you think what she thought too?
I do, to the extent of defining who you are as a comedian and not limiting yourself with where you're going to go with a character, a comedy, say a one-woman show, but I do feel that there is a box or a square that you got to figure out how to get your round peg into when it comes to marketing or when it comes to streamlining. I want to get this to a bigger audience. I want to be able to pay my mortgage for the next few years. I want to be able to pay for my kids' tuition. So if I'm just doing what I want, and if that takes off, then that's really great. But if I have to go up the ladder, then how do I compartmentalize, and how do I streamline, and how do I get my canary down to the bottom of that mine shaft and come up? Because so often as women, we have our idea and we send it in, and the poor little thing never comes up. And you have to go, how did French and Saunders do it? How did Codco do it? And then how did Cathy and Mary? And you asked me, I know I'm jumping ship here for a second, we all talked about Carol Burnett or whomever influenced us. And the first time that I went, I can do this, was when I moved to Newfoundland in the 80s. And really strong feminist movement and strong women, and it was Cathy Jones, and it was Janice Spence, who's passed on, and people like Lois Brown and other people that said, hey, you can do this, but also the men were behind us as well, you know, and it just is a very collective environment, I find, in Newfoundland, which it really is there. So I know that I just went in a tangent, but
No,
take it or leave it.
You're right. I gotta say that, like, as you're talking, I'm thinking, like, how subtle it is. You think that it's not there. I think, well, I've never really, you know, I've been encouraged, and I've had lots of chances to play, and it's only my own lack of confidence that's kept me from pushing through, and, you know, my own personal stuff, which I think everything's just a reflection of your mind, and if you want to get that way. I mean, it's just your dream. It's only your dream. But on some level, you're still held back. Like, I think about this series that I wanted to pitch for a long time, but I can't get it together. I'll meet you later, Jan. But, like, it's like, because I wanted to write about, you know, these, you know, aging people, because, of course, every age that I am, that's the series that I want to do. But I work sometimes with a writer, Ed Rich, in Newfoundland, and I'm trying to pitch this idea about these rock and rollers, aging rock and rollers in Hamilton, and I want it to be about their wives and ex-wives and all these female characters. But when the pitch comes through, the pitch that's going to work, then Ed writes a short thing where it's like about the guys in the band. And you have a really hard time just saying, well, I thought it would be really interesting was about the women. You don't even fucking get a chance to say that. You think, okay, I think that would probably get in if we make it about the guys, you know?
So how do you navigate that minefield if you want to get your comedy and your, you know, the philosophical stuff behind your humor, if you want to take that to a larger audience, how do you navigate your way through that broadcaster ladder to actually get what you want out?
I think you got to have the balance. You got to have everybody's, you know, you got to have a core of characters who are interesting, and it doesn't matter what the sex. It's like, it doesn't really matter what sex you are. You just fucking do comedy. But, like, if you get in a world where people are sexist, you get, you know, you get pushed to the, you know, like what you're talking about, like, you know. But what do you guys think?
I find my answer might be more philosophical, and it could be wrong too. Like, I'm 36 now, and I look back at things, you know, say like 5 years ago, and I was like, she didn't have a clue. That girl didn't have a goddamn clue. So I could be, you know, I could come back next year and go, yeah, everything I said last year is wrong. But at the place in my life right now, I feel that the times in comedy when I have been my happiest and when I have been my most creatively successful is when I have been committed to being 100% me. And that is a scary risk to take, because that might mean that the producers and the networks don't like me. They might not, but I have to commit. This is where I am now. Next year, I can be like, please give me a show. I'm broke. But the times that I've been happiest is when I'm like, this is me. These are the words I say. This is the way they say them. This is the fat arse that it's coming out of. And this is it. And if you want to make a show with it, great. If you don't, I know how to work the checkout at Showbiz. I'll work at Showbiz. And when I've had that, personally what's worked for me is when I have that attitude of I'm going to make what I like first, and I'm going to take the work and the writing seriously, and then the rest I don't give a shit about, is honestly when things have come to me. I know that's a really scary thing to throw out, to just sort of do what you do and hope for the best. But that's honestly when I've been happiest and when I've been the most successful.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I don't know if I would want success that came from any other place. Like, I would only want to make it based on what I like doing.
Yeah, when I've been my most miserable and my most not wanting to be in this business anymore is when I'm like, okay, what does the network want? What are they looking for right now? What are the network people? So far, I'm assuming they don't know.
That's right. That's right.
And so you might as well just be what you are, and hope that eventually the pendulum will come around. That they're like, yeah, we need a girl that spits when she talks.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I was talking to this woman, Ingrid Veninger, who just did a film called I'm a Good Person, I'm a Bad Person. I talked to her yesterday, and she said that she felt that when pitching, movies now, finally producers have got it. They finally trying this new thing where they actually let the artist's idea go, right? Instead of trying to say, they've tried that thing, even though they're not creative, they say, well, how about we make that guy, this way, and the writers can do it till their heads drop off, but trusting the artist, there's a new movement in producers towards actually, and if that was the case, we'd all have effing TV shows, because we're all hilarious, and we could all have TV shows. There's TV shows, like if you were at the BBC definitely makes more stuff than anybody around here is willing to do. Like all those shows you see that come out of the UK that you just think, why the fuck would they make one of those? They just don't do it. The States try to imitate them sometimes, but Canada doesn't get the chance to do the shows that we would do.
And we've got the talent. We can do it.
Absolutely.
We can do it. We all go south and we make it.
You see what happens when the fucking producers are controlling it.
Yeah, just let us do
stupid shows that are called the best sitcom in Canada, and you're like, I can't sit through it.
Yeah.
I want to say a quick thing, which is I think to get the canary out of the coal mine is organizations such as this, banding together with people who have integrity, men and women, also lobbying. As we make it up and as we make it, we do have power, we do have voices, and if that collective thinking of we're humans, and the truth is that there's an imbalance. There's an imbalance that comes with race, and there is an imbalance that all of us can agree on, which is that there's an imbalance when it comes to women, and I know that men would agree with that as well, and that collective thinking has to formulate its way through our unions and our producers and our directors and our writers and our casting agents. I have always been in casting rooms going, could I play the guy? Could he be a girl? I'm digressing, but it's just finding that place of integrity and sticking to it and lobbying for it and opening yourself up to how am I contributing to this and how can I give? Because I might not think that I've got a lot or that I'm successful, but if I'm working with a younger playwright or a younger filmmaker, I got a lot to give them. And it's the same thing when you hear, here's some advice on how to be a good mother that somebody gave you, or Phyllis Diller gave you, and how to, be a good wife in a joke 20 years ago. Those things are really important, and we need to pass them on and band together.
Well, in speaking with you through the week, I was just struck by these women are brilliant and they're funny and they're just so sharp, and we should have all of them on TV. So I sent Karen an email the other morning saying, I have a good idea for a sitcom. I'm the booking agent for 4 fabulous and diverse comedians, and think about this. Of course, I'm really just trying to get myself a job, but I thought, what producer, what broadcaster in their right mind could say no to that? Right there, maybe this, but this, come on.
I think it boils down to, again, they don't know what they want. It's turning where I say on the phone with you, it's like, I want to be honest, but at the same time, I don't want you walking away going, this is terrible. We still get to do, we get to play, and people give us money for it.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I get to say the F word for money. It's awesome, and because I love the F word. And, but when it comes to the network stuff, it's, first off, there's a lack of money, and when there's a lack of money, people get scared. And when people get scared, they make really stupid decisions. And that's, that's what we have. I liken it to, it's when you watch little kids play hockey, the little ones, right? There's no defense. It's all offense. It's just a clump of kids. The puck's there. And the puck's, and sometimes the networks act like little kids. I'm never going to work again. But they're constantly chasing a new puck, and they'll see something that works really well, right? You're like, like I was saying to you, they for a while there, they all wanted the Daily Show, right? They were all wanting to recreate it. We had the fucking Daily Show. They were the Daily Show long before. The Daily Show, we already had it. And so, they're always trying to recreate, something that works as opposed to just trusting us to make something good.
Because often they want to emulate what they're doing in the States, and yet, who are the most successful comedians in the States? Canadians.
Yeah.
Really, right? You, Cathy, have had a career that's an aberration, really, because you've been a successful comedian for 25 years. How much have you learned about that whole process of getting your work to a broader audience?
Nothing.
Nothing.
This is so depressing.
Whether I've been successful out there in some kind of conventional view is not relevant to me. So in the summertime when I would be off from 22 Minutes, and it's been like a gilded cage, so having a TV show where I make some money, I'm not hungry. I haven't been hungry for years, and that's a problem, but it's not that big a problem because I got a few bucks, and every time you got a few bucks, everything's okay. But basically, in the summertime, people say, "What are you doing?" I always want to say, "Well, I'm going to be in a film with, Harrison Ford." But actually, no, I'm going, I'm going to fuck around and go, to go to Winners. And it's been good. It's been awesome. I've got a book not written and a TV show not pitched, 100 times, and still, I'm happier than I ever was. So, I don't know. I think you can't judge when shit happens, and I'm not giving up. Just because I'm 57 on my birthday, I'm not thinking that in my 70s I'm not going to have a brilliant film career. I don't think that I'm not going to have a TV show in my 60s that I really love. I want to have something that's a Cathy Jones joint that I created, but I don't care if it doesn't happen till I'm 83. Fuck it, man. My process is about becoming not depressed, and I'm not depressed now.
Now, that's when comedians tell the truth that a lot of people conceal, spend most of their lives concealing, right? So many people walk around and they want you to know how happy they are and how perfect their life is. And comedians deconstruct that. What's the difference, do you think, between males' comedy and females' comedy? Or is there one?
It depends on the comedian. I mean,
a lot of sensitive comedian
Mm-hmm.
guys.
Yeah, it depends on what you want to talk about. If you want to use your act to talk about women's issues, or if you want to use your act to talk about things that are distinctly male, then you can. But there are a lot of universal things that apply to both genders that are free reign for anyone to talk about. Yeah, I try not to talk about anything gender specific. I don't know why I try to do that, but I don't know. I don't want people to be like, that's a female comedian. I just want people to be like, that's a comedian, and their jokes make me laugh, and that's all. That's it.
Nikki, are you going to throw up?
Yes. No, I mean, it's when I'm on stage, I'm a person. I'm an individual, but and it's my pain and my happiness and my frustrations, and it's everything that makes Nikki Nikki, and my vagina and my boobs are just a small part of that. And at the end of the day, I think the girl that's there humping and yelling is just going, look at all of this, and the audience going, oh, I know, we got that too, and that is connection. It's at the end of the day, it's connection.
And sometimes you can't help but talk about things that are distinctly female things, because that's your experience. Like, my experience is a female experience, and so when I'm talking about things that are relevant to me, then that kind of stuff just comes out because it's part of who I am.
What would have to change overnight for there
Can I answer that question?
Yeah, please.
Because I have a vagina too, and would like to speak.
I meant to ask you. You looked like you were
I think that there's mainstream comedy, and so many men are successful in that mainstream. Yes, there are some women that are mainstream. So we often believe that mainstream comedy is male comedy because there's such a large voice there, and there's alternative comedy. And I think that the men that I've worked with, that I've really fostered a good relationship with, I think that they look at things a little bit differently, and they have the same kind of lexicon as me. Whether it's hunter or gatherer, or however I put my mind mapping goes together, I can work really well with those comedians, and they are all alternative, and all of us up here are alternative females, given whatever successes we've done or achieved. But I think often we look at male comedy. I guess it really does exist, because there's so many sitcoms out there that I go, fuck, that's just like putting the joke between two football, I don't even know what those things are called. And it's the same thing. It's just hucking the jokes all the time, where you go, this is such a fucking formula. And then you see other things that are these nebulous, and for me, the Trailer Park Boys was a super male comedy, but I hated it the first time I saw it, and then I fell in love with it, and I went, this is about love and friendship and commitment, and that's male comedy. So I think it's like, I don't know, goalpost comedy, or like, you know, picking blueberry comedy. That's
yeah, it's not all the same
as scientific
thing.
as it gets for me.
That's right.
How
There's
hard
bad
is it?
comedy though that sucks.
It's not the sex of the comedian. It's the writing and the characters. Like Frasier, who cares that he's a male? It's the funniest thing. You know, like that guy's funny. He's a winner. There's a lot of very funny stuff. My favorite funny stuff really is where people are just neurotic, and that's what's so funny. And I have yet to get to be or write a show. What I really want to do is like, just because people believe this would be a good idea, and then they do something, and it's very, you know, like why was The Sopranos so funny? You know, vulnerable, like two-sided people, like who were very vulnerable, who thought something would be a good idea, and trying to make people, you know, happy, and show, and just hilarious, and then also murderers. That's funny.
So what would have to change overnight for there to be more women in comedy?
I mean, I think it's a long process that we're still in the middle of, but I've seen changes in my lifetime, which has been short. I'm very young.
She's actually my daughter, 14.
I've seen changes in comedy in my lifetime that I have been proud to see. I feel like there are a lot of good springboards. Like when I think about like Kristen Wiig on Saturday Night Live right now, or when I think about people who, like Saturday Night Live in the 90s, that was a female powerhouse.
I know. And was there ever an article like the women, they never even mentioned it, and there was this
it was like,
whole
Will Ferrell's really great. And you're like, well, what about everyone
about it?
Like,
when they had that pissed me off too.
Me and Cathy
they had this run of fantastic women. Remember the cheerleaders that
Cheryl Terry, Molly Shannon, Anna Gasteyer.
And they never did. Wow, look at the women of Saturday Night Live. They never fucking mentioned it. And it was an amazing rundown of fabulous women. You're right, Cheryl.
I am
drove
right.
me crazy. Oh, sorry.
Physical comedy. Thank you for that demonstration. Who else do you love right now on a big stage for female comedians?
Oh my God.
Oh God, we all go blank. And I go dyslexic and start to
that girl who was in the movie with Kristen Wiig, right?
Everyone
Melissa McCarthy.
They were all great. I like Maria Bamford. She's really funny.
Maria Bamford's awesome.
Yeah, she's a bit of a genius.
Yeah. You know Cathy
Tig Notaro. She's amazing too. Tig Notaro.
I don't know her.
Does anyone know her?
She's really funny.
You're going.
Look her up on YouTube. She recently did a spot on Conan O'Brien that was like, whoa, it was mind-blowing.
Nice.
Like,
Can you say her name again?
Tig Notaro.
Can you spell that for us?
T-I-G. Tig. And A-T.
Something like that. Just
Maria
slur the
Bamford
rest.
is awesome.
Just Google it and they'll be like, did you mean? It'll be fine.
Christine, you have to give me one name.
No, I'm really bad with names, and I blank, and I just go, so I know the comedians that you've spoken of, and I agree, and I would need a nap and some time alone in a quiet room.
We'll come back. We'll reconvene tomorrow morning.
Next year, I'll give you my list.
Do you guys know Kathleen Phillips? Remember Kathleen Phillips? You know her?
Yeah.
She's funny too.
Yeah, very funny.
Who do you like, Nikki?
Yes, Nikki, that's my answer. No, Melissa McCarthy, Bridesmaids, they're saying it's going to change everything. We'll see. I mean, I wouldn't mind going back to the question before that, though, but things are better. Like, I know that, I went into, what was considered a male-dominated field, stand-up comedy, and I can say, totally and honestly, and look you in the eye and say, I didn't have any trouble working my way up through stand-up comedy. I didn't face any trouble at all going up through stand-up comedy. And I think that's because women came before me and probably made the path a whole lot easier. I would say the things that I hit is television-wise. I was going along, and boom, and I was like, what? Oh, that. I heard them talking about that. And it's not so bad. You bump your head on, and you're like, oh yeah, I was prepared for that. And it's not horrifying or anything, but I'd say things are a lot better. And it's not an overnight. The things that do need to be changed aren't overnight. It's like I said, first thing we got to start doing is recognizing that it even occurs and acknowledging that, and then going from there.
I think if anything could change overnight, there's not enough scripts out there that tell women's stories. There's not enough parts for women. There's some brilliant shows that women have written that are often focused around men. And that's the truth. There's not the opportunity for us to show up and do that. So we're often behind the scenes writing, and we're creating what our brilliant minds are able to create a character, and we might have to create it for 4 men and a couple of women. And even though those women, there may be women on various shows, unless you're talking Being Erica, as far as Canada goes, there's nothing that we can hang our hook on. It really does come down to we're doing well in the home design shows or in the cooking shows, which I think probably all of us have fallen asleep at night going, if I only had a cooking show, I could then have the book, and then I could take my daughter on tour with me, and I'd be rich forever. But it's the truth. There's got to be, and Richard was, I loved Richard's comment this morning where he said he's been sexist. He's, a middle-aged gay man going, I never thought that this could be anything other than a white businessman. So it's that type of dialogue, and it takes for the actresses to, even if they don't get those auditions, or the writers to say, could this be a woman? Could this be a big woman? Could this be a big, sexy woman? Could this be a black woman, an Asian woman, an Indian woman, a Mexican, or whatever, whatever it is. That's the thing that could, if we could wake up to that'd be pretty good.
That'd be good. I am not the only one here with questions. I want to throw it out to you guys in the audience, and we'll sweeten the pot. Nobody wants to be the first person to ask a question usually. We've got a bunch of copies of the Halifax Comedy Fest 2011, and if you ask a question, if you can, thank you.
It's me on the back going like this.
This is the plug. The Comedy Fest runs from April 25th to the 28th this year, by the way, and the DVDs are courtesy of Pilot Light Productions. Thanks, Jeff Dion and Kim Hendrickson. So that's going to be the first question. Karen's going to bring it to you, but you have to be brave enough to stand up and yell your question, because I'm not giving up my mic. Yes, oh, sorry, go.
I have a question about the process. As an audience, we always see the end result. And I know as a writer, when I write, I go through drafts and drafts. I want to hear from each of you, when you're doing a show, how much time and effort, how much process goes into putting that together.
Did everybody hear that? Everybody can hear that? Yeah, good. As long as we speak up, go for it.
I spend hours writing terrible jokes. Terrible, horrible jokes. And then I pick the ones that I think are less terrible, and I take them to a bar, and I tell them, and then I read those out and decide which ones are less terrible from that batch. And then I actually put them in my act and keep trying them out for a while within my act and finding out who's laughing at what and where. And it's just, I am knee-deep in crappy jokes most of the time, and I just have to keep wading through it until I find that one little nugget that's funny.
It's often talking to friends and just complaining about something or saying it, and I go, that's funny, because I know the pattern, I know what would be a good formula, and then I'll write it down, and then eventually I gather all these things into a big category, and this will be this, and this will be this, and this will be this. Or I'll just be telling jokes. Not telling jokes, just telling a story and go, that's, same process. But quite often it comes from a costume. I'll find something and I'll go, this would be this. Or it comes from just like waking up in the morning and going, fuck, you're old and you have Billy Idol hair and you look like this, and then this like, and then before you know it, it's like, I should have a game show where guys do this, and then, it just happens. Or it happens sheer, and I'm giggling because I've seen Cathy in her process too, and I'm sure she can relate to maybe some of what I'm saying, but complete, I don't want to do this, I'm terrified to go on stage tonight, I suck, I'm a loser, I'm like, bleh. And then it's like, but if I put on that dress and then I took off my clothes and ate a sandwich, what music would go to that? Like literally. And then it's like, what kind of music do I have? And you go, okay, I don't even fucking rehearse. And then I go and do it. And I've seen her not even fucking rehearsing and being brilliant. So sometimes it's writing and sometimes it's just being lazy.
Yeah.
Cheryl?
I mean, I do a lot of different things, so I have a lot of different processes. For stand-up, it's very similar to Nikki's. I write jokes and they suck. Oh, do they suck? And then I test them out, and sometimes I keep the ones that really suck until they become funny. And I'm like,
you got this little baby, this terrible, unfunny, ugly baby, and you're just like, I don't care if they don't laugh at you, I love you.
Yeah. And for sketch, I'm a very selfish writer, so a lot of the things that I come up with is just me saying like, well, what do I want to do? What do I want to cut in half with a sword? And then I like write a sketch where that's what happens. And then sometimes people are like, Cheryl, cutting stuff in half with a sword is not a sketch. You should leave. And sometimes they're like, that's hilarious. Go ahead and do that. So I kind of just, I write up what I think I should do, what I think would be fun to do, and then I try and craft a premise around it, which is really crazy. Or like I'll think of a visual thing. I'm like, oh, that would look cool. It would look cool if I put my hand in a glove full of refried beans. And then I'm like, now how can I turn that into a story?
Ms. Jones.
Oh, no.
Let's hear it.
No. I always have a lot of things that I would love to be doing. I have a lot of things in process, always in my mind. My mind's handling a lot of different details. But if you tell me that I have a gig on Saturday, that I have to be funny Saturday night or something, and they're going to pay me. It's not a benefit. I will get it done, And I don't write down jokes much, when I don't have to. But like a lot of times for the show, I have the same thing where I'll just write. I'm not writing a five-hander. I'm basically writing a monologue about what I think is funny, and I never think about putting my hand in a glove full of beans.
I do.
But I saw her with cheese all over her face.
I admire that.
I do morning pages too. When I write good, when I'm not being lazy, because I make it sound like I get up every day and write 5 hours, and that's bullshit. But when I'm not being lazy, and I do the morning pages and just write nonsense, I won't get anything from that, but then later on that day, something will happen. Yeah. And so when I'm not being lazy and writing morning pages, that happens sometimes.
Gets it flowing. Okay.
I wanted to bring up something that hasn't brought up yet, and brought up a little bit earlier today. Now, I really like the idea what you said to Cheryl, right? About how you don't see any obstacles in your way. I think the difference there is your age, because I, at the age of 35, decided I wanted to be a comedian. Now, what I face is ageism. try to get on the yuck-yucks here in Halifax, or I'm thinking about in Halifax at 46 years of age. Do you know what I mean? And not that I'm not funny. I fill the room, I can make you laugh. But, and my friend, I have a friend who's over 50, she has the same problem. She'll call up yuck-yucks and be like, oh, you just call like the minute after midnight. And I'm only picking on yuck-yucks because I don't think he's like what you can do with comedy here in Halifax. And she will say, sit on her computer, have her email written, wait for midnight and hit send. And then she'll, oh no, I'm sorry, you didn't make it. Then she'll go to the comedy club and they'll be locking up to 22-year-old guys and go, yeah, we got a couple spaces tonight.
Yeah.
Can you fill them? So my question is, how do I get past that?
You just do your own show like we all have.
Well, that's what
I mean,
we do.
yuck-yucks. I know that Picnic Face did a long run, but I don't know if you liked it.
No, we
But none of us really liked it.
And we did a long run because Yuck Yucks was like, if you don't do a long run, none of you will ever perform at Yuck Yucks again. We want all of the money. So yeah, sorry Yuck Yucks, I don't like you. I think that part of the problem is that there's a monopoly on comedy in this town, and the only way to get your stuff seen is to make your own show.
Just do your own show.
That's what we did.
And I'm doing that. I'm writing my third show right now. The problem is that I want to make a living doing it.
Yeah.
And I just find that if I finance myself, then that's great when it works out, but I just went out to Fort McMurray Grand Prairie and it didn't work out. Yeah. So now I'm back here, so now I've got to make up the money that I lost. Right? I'm not like I'm whining or something. I'm just trying to say, how else can we, like, could we maybe start an all-women's female club here in Halifax? I mean, do you think that would work?
Yeah. That'd be cool. I'd come to that. Let me know.
I would do that. You know what? I never thought of
There
that.
you go.
That's a great idea. I think earlier today we were talking about America and how they're relying on volunteers and they don't want it, but I know I was sitting in the back with Nikki and I went, I've been volunteering for the last 2 years. It's called my career.
You do a lot of volunteering in comedy. My experience with Yuck Yucks has been different. I'm not actually with them anymore. I produce my own shows. And I don't know what to say about Halifax because Halifax, like I didn't start my career in Halifax. I left because at the time, I don't think there was much. No. And so my experience with Yuck Yucks has been fine. They were all I knew. I was naive. I didn't, you know, so I didn't know that there was any other way, so I did their system. But what I can tell you is that they're not the only game in town. Comedy's changing. And if it's not a fit for you, you know, it was a fit for me, wasn't a fit for her. She's doing fine. Like, you know, she's doing just fine. You know, so yeah, you either, there's other things. Yeah, like, if I was answering your question in Toronto, I could tell you that there's a whole alternative comedy scene happening that has nothing to do with the Yuck Yucks chain, and
Vancouver as well.
Yeah, and Vancouver as well. I don't. You might have to create that here, maybe.
And it's no different, really, than the broader acting community, right? The room is going to apparently explode any moment. There's been a bomb threat, and that's the only way I can really get them out of the room right now, because these guys are glaring holes through my head saying, it's past 5 o'clock. We have to finish at 5 o'clock. I'm sorry, we can't continue. I'm so grateful to all 4 of these fabulous women for being here today and for you for participating because it is a conversation. Comedy is a conversation with the audience.
Yeah, I'm sorry it's not, like, I mean, that's what I was saying to you on the phone, is that
We're all
if we're
sorry.
going to be honest, we suck so much, we're such
I'm sorry it wasn't funny.
such uninteresting people in
said
real
fuck.
life. I know I said fuck.
I said fuck first and then you guys
I didn't say fuck enough. I'm sorry.
I think to be fair, you all said fuck, so at least you know the playing field is
Before we
even.
close,
Karen gave me a dirty look.
the woman who just asked that question, yo,
Yo.
Yeah.
yo, dog.
Hey, fuckhead.
Would you come and maybe give me your email address? Because I know of some shows that you can maybe do.
All right.
Bill's show.
What's that?
Bill's show.
Bill's show, yeah.
So thank you.
You
for
just
WIFT
can't be
Hamm.
too sensitive. Don't be sensitive.
And we'll end with that, because those are words to live by.
Prizes.
Oh dear.
Nice, thank you.
Tell them what she's won, Jerry.
Aren't they fantastic? Wasn't that a great